In a quiet town where shadows had untold stories, the white-faced twin's sharp words pierced the heart of a lonely girl. Laughter turned to whispers, and pride blinded her to the pain she caused. But when fate intertwined their paths in an unexpected twist, a lesson in true friendship emerged, one that would shatter arrogance, awaken kindness, and leave a mark on both hearts forever. Witnessed the moment she realized that mocking someone could cost her the very friendship she never knew she needed. The sun was just beginning its descent, casting long golden streaks across the quiet streets of the town. In one corner of the park, laughter echoed, sharp, loud, and unmistakable. It belonged to the white-faced twin, a girl whose beauty was as striking as her arrogance, a girl who wielded her pride like a weapon. Today, her target was a lonely girl sitting quietly on a bench, a girl whose eyes carried silent storms, whose heart carried invisible scars. The white-faced twin tilted her head, her lips curling into a sly, mocking smile. "Look at you, sitting there all by yourself," she said, her voice dripping with derision. "Do you even know how boring you look? People should pity you, really." Her laughter rang through the empty park, bouncing off the walls of the nearby buildings. The black-faced twin watched silently from a distance, her kind eyes heavy with worry. She had always been the softer of the two, the twin who felt the pain of others as deeply as her own. She had tried to stop her sister countless times, but words seemed useless against a heart fortified with pride and attitude. The lonely girl flinched at every word, shrinking further into herself. Her hands clutched the edges of the bench, knuckles white, heart hammering in silent panic. Nobody had ever spoken to her like this, not even the classmates who ignored her existence daily. The white-faced twins' words cut deeper than knives. They were not just teasing. They were aimed precisely at the very essence of her loneliness. As the white-faced twin continued her mockery, a subtle shift occurred. The world around them, normally vibrant and warm in the evening light, seemed to dull. The laughter of the twin echoed back at her, almost as if the shadows themselves were absorbing the arrogance, reflecting it in silence. The black-faced twin stepped forward, voice calm but firm. "Stop it," she said. "Why do you always hurt people for fun?" The white-faced twin rolled her eyes, dismissing her twin's concern as usual. "I'm just having a little fun. Why does it matter to you?" The black-faced twin's gaze didn't waver. She saw beyond the surface. She saw the insecurity the white-faced twin carried hidden behind pride. She saw the emptiness masked as arrogance. And she saw the pain of the lonely girl, fragile and real, being pierced with every cruel word. The lonely girl looked up briefly, eyes glistening with unshed tears. There was no anger in her glance, only hurt, loneliness, and a fragile hope that perhaps someone might stop the torment. That hope was so faint, it was almost invisible, yet the black-faced twin clung to it like a lifeline. "You don't have to do this," the black-faced twin continued, stepping closer to her sister. "Kindness doesn't make you weak, it makes you powerful." The white-faced twin scoffed. "Powerful? You mean boring, right? People will laugh at you for being nice." She turned back to the lonely girl and smirked. "Maybe you should learn that lesson too. Nobody likes a weakling." For a moment, the wind carried a strange chill. The air seemed to thicken with tension. The black-faced twin's eyes softened as she stepped between her sister and the lonely girl. "Everyone deserves a friend," she whispered, almost to herself. "Even you, even her." Something in the white-faced twin shifted, though she wouldn't admit it. A flicker of guilt passed through her mind, subtle, almost imperceptible. She ignored it, hiding behind her usual mask of mockery. But the seed was planted. The lonely girl, sensing a brief pause, finally spoke, her voice barely audible. Why are you being so mean?" The white-faced twin blinked, thrown off by the raw honesty. Nobody had asked her that before. Nobody had questioned her behavior with such calm vulnerability. Her heart skipped a beat, not from fear, not from remorse, but from a strange, unfamiliar awareness. The black-faced twin gently placed her hand on the lonely girl's shoulder. "It's okay," she said softly. "Not everyone understands kindness yet, but they can learn." The white-faced twin turned away, pretending to adjust her hair, but her mind raced. For the first time, she noticed how the lonely girl's eyes weren't filled with anger. They were filled with pain. And suddenly the mockery, the laughter, the pride, everything seemed hollow as the sun dipped further below the horizon, casting long, dramatic shadows. The park transformed into a place of quiet tension. The white-faced twin felt a weight she couldn't name, a discomfort that gnawed at her pride. She walked away, head high, but her heart heavy with an unfamiliar question. Was she truly powerful, or had she just been lonely inside herself all along? In that moment, the black-faced twin smiled softly, knowing the lesson had begun. And the lonely girl, unaware of the storm she had triggered, whispered a silent wish into the wind, a wish for a friend she never thought she would find. The next morning, the air felt different. The sun rose, casting a soft glow over the town, but the white-faced twin felt a heaviness she hadn't known before. The laughter from yesterday echoed faintly in her mind, now laced with a hollow note. Her pride, usually sharp and unwavering, felt fragile, exposed in ways she couldn't fully articulate. She walked through the school corridors, the echoes of footsteps sounding louder than usual. Each glance from her classmates felt heavier, almost accusatory. The lonely girl, who had kept to herself, now watched her with a curious, cautious gaze. There was no malice in her eyes, only the soft glimmer of hope, the kind of hope that gently pierces a heart. The black-faced twin followed silently, like a guardian shadow. She knew her sister was wrestling with something new. Regret. It was subtle, almost imperceptible, but enough to make the white-faced twin pause mid-step. Pride had always been her shield, but now it felt like a fragile mask. In the cafeteria, the white-faced twin tried to maintain her usual attitude. She laughed loudly at her friends' jokes, tossed her hair with practiced arrogance, and made sure her smirk never faltered. Yet, inside, a storm raged. The words she had thrown at the lonely girl replayed in her mind, not as amusement, but as a weight she couldn't shake. Later, during recess, the black-faced twin guided the lonely girl to a quiet corner of the playground. "Don't be afraid of her," she said softly. "She's learning in her own way. Sometimes people hurt others because they are hurting themselves." The lonely girl nodded, absorbing the words like a fragile seed of hope. "Do you think she can really change?" she asked. "I believe everyone can," replied the black-faced twin. "But some lessons take time, and regret is the hardest teacher." Meanwhile, the white-faced twin wandered near the edge of the playground, watching from a distance. She noticed how the lonely girl smiled at the small gestures of kindness from her sister, how even a simple word of encouragement seemed to light up her eyes. And for the first time, she realized something profound. Her mockery hadn't amused anyone. It had hurt deeply. That evening, the white-faced twin returned home, her reflection in the mirror uncomfortably honest. She stared at her own face, white as snow but hollow, and something shifted inside. Pride felt meaningless when it cost someone else their happiness. She remembered the loneliness in the girl's eyes, the subtle bravery in her quiet demeanor, and a pang of guilt washed over her. Her black-faced twin entered the room quietly, sensing the change. "It's okay," she said softly, placing a hand on her sister's shoulder. "You're beginning to understand. That's the first step." The white-faced twin's eyes welled up, but she refused to cry. Instead, she nodded, silently acknowledging that her journey of self-reflection had begun. That night, she could hardly sleep. Memories of her laughter, once so triumphant, now felt like echoes in an empty hall. The realization dawned. Mockery had no power. Kindness did. The next day at school, the white-faced twin approached the lonely girl. Her steps were hesitant, almost awkward, but filled with a new kind of courage, the courage to face herself. I'm sorry," she murmured. "I shouldn't have mocked you. It wasn't fair." The lonely girl looked up, surprise flickering across her face. The black-faced twin smiled softly, encouragingly. For the first time, the white-faced twin noticed a warmth in the lonely girl's eyes, a warmth that didn't seek revenge but offered understanding. It wasn't instant forgiveness. Trust needed time, but the seed had been planted. A fragile, delicate seed of friendship, nurtured by honesty, courage, and emerging empathy. Days passed, and the white-faced twin's transformation deepened. She no longer felt compelled to mock others. She learned to pause, to reflect, and to consider the unseen weight of words. She still struggled. Old habits die hard, but each small act of kindness, no matter how simple, fortified her growth. The black-faced twin watched, proud yet careful. She knew that true change required more than words. It required action, patience, and facing one's own reflections without flinching. And slowly, the white-faced twin began to do just that. One afternoon, a small incident triggered the lesson again. A classmate tripped near the playground, scattering books across the ground. The white-faced twin rushed forward, helping pick up the books without a hint of arrogance or mockery. The lonely girl noticed, her lips curving into a small, shy smile. "Thank you," she whispered. In that moment, the white-faced twin understood something profound. Friendship is not about pride nor about control. It is about empathy, action, and sincere connection. The days that followed were filled with small victories. Shared laughter that wasn't tainted by sarcasm, moments of genuine care, and the silent understanding that bonds are built, not broken, by cruelty. The white-faced twin's transformation was neither dramatic nor instant, but it was real, deeply human, and filled with emotional authenticity. By the end of Chapter 2, the school and the park were no longer arenas for mockery. They were spaces of learning, reflection, and subtle healing. The white-faced twin's pride no longer isolated her. Instead, it became a mirror, reflecting the impact of her actions and inspiring her to walk a path of emerging kindness. The morning sun cast a golden glow across the small town, yet the white-faced twin felt a weight that neither brightness nor laughter could lift. The last few days have been a whirlwind of reflection, regret, and tiny victories, but today was different. It carried a sense of possibility, a fragile yet undeniable chance for redemption. She approached the park, where the black-faced twin was already waiting, standing near the same wooden bench that had borne witness to mockery, pain, and quiet transformation. The lonely girl was there too, seated in the warm sunlight, her posture slightly less withdrawn than before. There was a tentative calm in the air, an unspoken promise that the events of yesterday would not define them forever. The white-faced twin's heart pounded in her chest. Pride and fear battled within her, but she knew that this moment demanded courage of a different kind. The courage to face herself, to confront the pain she had caused, and take the first genuine step toward friendship. She took a deep breath and sat down beside the lonely girl. The initial silence was thick, almost suffocating, yet the black-faced twin's calm presence offered reassurance. The white-faced twin's voice trembled slightly, betraying her vulnerability. I want to try," she began. "I want to be a better person. I want to be your friend." The lonely girl looked up, eyes wide with surprise. There was hesitation in her gaze, a fragile trust being cautiously extended. Slowly, a small smile curved her lips, one that carried relief, hope, and a quiet acceptance that transformation is often slow but meaningful. The black-faced twin watched from a short distance, her heart swelling with pride and relief. She had always believed in the power of empathy, kindness, and patience, and now she saw the proof unfolding in real time. Days turned into weeks, and the trio's bond began to solidify. The white-faced twin, once the embodiment of arrogance and mockery, gradually embraced a new identity, one shaped not by pride but by reflection, understanding, and sincere care for others. She learned to listen before speaking, to consider the unseen weight of her words, and to appreciate the subtle joys of genuine friendship. The lonely girl, once isolated and fearful, found herself smiling more, laughing more freely, and discovering a sense of belonging she had never experienced before. Her trust in the white-faced twin, nurtured by patience and consistent kindness, blossomed into a resilient bond that neither mockery nor pride could shatter. The black-faced twin acted as both guide and witness, her quiet wisdom facilitating the transformation without overshadowing it. She understood that true growth cannot be forced. It must emerge organically, like a flower blooming under the right conditions of care, sunlight, and patience. One afternoon, as they walked together through the sun-dappled streets, the white-faced twin reflected on her journey. The arrogance that once defined her seemed almost foreign now. She realized that power does not lie in mockery or dominance. It lies in the ability to empathize, to uplift others, and to build connections that withstand trials and misunderstandings. A small incident tested the fragile bond yet again. A misunderstanding arose between a lonely girl and another classmate, sparking old fears and insecurities. The white-faced twin, now equipped with the lessons of reflection and empathy, stepped in, not with sarcasm or mockery, but with calm guidance and protective care. She mediated, reassured, and encouraged dialogue, demonstrating a profound shift in her character. By evening, the park was filled with laughter and genuine camaraderie. The trio sat beneath a large oak tree, shadows dancing across the ground as the sun sank below the horizon. The white-faced twin glanced at her reflection in the still water nearby, seeing not only her face but also the transformation etched into her eyes, her posture, her words. The black-faced twin nudged her gently. "See? You've grown," she said softly. "And you've made a difference, not just for her, but for yourself." The white-faced twin nodded, a sense of calm and fulfillment washing over her. She realized that the journey of self-reflection, regret, and eventual transformation had not only mended broken connections, but also enriched her understanding of life, empathy, and human relationships. The lonely girl leaned against the white-faced twin, a gesture of trust and newfound friendship. For the first time in a long while, all three felt complete. Not because life had been easy, but because they had faced pain, mistakes, and vulnerability together, emerging stronger and more connected than ever before. As night fell, the park glowed under the soft light of the moon. The shadows of yesterday's mistakes were replaced by the warmth of understanding, the gentle glow of forgiveness, and the quiet strength of friendship. The white-faced twin had learned that true power lies not in mocking others, but in lifting them, sharing joy, and embracing vulnerability. This day, which began with arrogance, pain, and mockery, ended with a bond stronger than any pride could ever sustain, a bond that would endure trials, strengthen character, and illuminate the hearts of all three forever. Life often teaches the deepest lessons through quiet, unexpected moments rather than grand gestures. The white-faced twin, blinded by pride, mocked a lonely girl, believing arrogance and sarcasm could elevate her, but in reality, she only revealed her own insecurities. Her actions reflected the hidden fear and loneliness that pride often conceals. The lonely girl, vulnerable yet quietly strong, became the mirror that reflected the true impact of cruelty, showing that strength lies not in mocking others, but in rising above pain with grace. The black-faced twin, calm and empathetic, guided the journey with patience and subtle support, proving that transformation requires gentle encouragement rather than force. Through reflection and regret, the white-faced twin discovered that true courage is facing one's mistakes and choosing to act with empathy and kindness. Each word, each gesture, carries weight, and every act of thoughtfulness has the power to heal wounds, build trust, and transform hearts. Friendship is not demanded. It is nurtured through understanding, consistency, and shared vulnerability. Regret is not a punishment, but a teacher that reveals what we must change to grow into better versions of ourselves. Kindness holds real power, stronger than pride, louder than sarcasm, and more lasting than dominance. True connection is forged when we see beyond our own desires and recognize the humanity in others, offering patience, forgiveness, and sincere care. Transformation begins within, when we realize the harm our words can cause and consciously choose compassion over cruelty. Every choice to act with empathy ripples outward, touching lives, mending hearts, and creating bonds that endure beyond mistakes. Life rewards those who turn regret into action, who embrace vulnerability, and who seek connection over superiority. The story of the twins teaches that real strength is measured not by dominance, but by the ability to uplift, heal, and forge meaningful relationships. Human hearts flourish when treated with respect, patience, and understanding, and even the proudest soul can change when confronted with the quiet truth of kindness. The journey from arrogance to empathy is not easy, but it is powerful, authentic, and profoundly human. True friendship, born of reflection, courage, and compassion, endures trials, fosters growth, and illuminates a path to a more connected and emotionally intelligent life. Regret, empathy, and conscious kindness are the pillars that transform mistakes into lasting bonds, proving that the power to change, to connect, and to heal lies within every heart willing to embrace it.